Okay, so one of the first things that I do is I take my candle tins and I turn them upside down, and each one of them gets a warning sticker. This is all about liability. There's some safety tips on there, and I also carry insurance, which is really important if you're a maker. So once I get all these done and I order my labels, I order the stickers in a roll of like 1,000. And you can see, and you can get these from most of the candle suppliers carry these. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Lauren with Alma Apothecary, and this channel is where I share about my handmade business, how I make the things that I make, as well as some of the business tips that I have learned after 4 years of being in business. And today I am going to be pouring some candles that are part of my new Virginia is for Lovers candle collection, and I am also going to be wrapping some soap. So I'm going to share just kind of the equipment that I use and how I do it all as we go. So let's do it. So a lot of the prep work with candle making is done up front, and it is probably the most time-consuming part of the process. But once every container has a warning sticker, next I'm going to take a wick sticker, which is going to go on the bottom of my wick and secure it to the bottom of the container. And I also get these in a roll of 1,000, and I use Candle Science, but you can get these from any candle supplier. So we'll get that going. So now that I have a wick secured in the middle of each container with my wick sticker, it's time to use my wick bars to secure these in place so they stay in the middle while we pour. They do make a tool to make putting the wick like directly in the middle. I have not invested in that yet because every little bit of overhead counts, but I think I would. That would definitely be something that's on my wish list. Just makes it super accurate directly in the middle each time. These wick bars too are probably something I would upgrade in the future. They work great, so I'll show you. But, you know, they're a little cumbersome, to be honest. Some of them are just a little more user-friendly. And you see it just holds the wick in place. So we're just gonna do all these, get them ready. Okay, so the prep work is finally done here, and you can see that I keep the containers in rows, and then I label the name of each one. A couple things to note here: I have one Chesapeake Bay that's already labeled, just because I use that pen to take a picture. And then I've got some candles that were already almost done, but they just need a thin layer on the top. And this Appalachian Trail one didn't have quite enough, so we're just topping all of those off. I use painter's tape to label them on the side, because usually I don't put the label on until later because you can have some wax spills down the side. So this is how I keep it straight with which fragrance is which. And you might think that you might always be able to tell your fragrances apart, but there is such a thing as going nose blind, especially when you're making all sorts of soaps and candles at the same time. You just get inundated with really strong scents, and you kind of do lose your ability to tell them apart. So that's why I'm very careful about keeping them separate and lined up in this way. So here is more of my setup here. I've got a different pouring pitcher for each fragrance because I'm going to pour them all relatively at the same time. And again, I use my painter's tape for just about everything, and I label on the handle which one is which, and I also line it up with the row corresponding, just to keep things, you know, really separate and keep me on track. Now, this scale is only used for candles, and you can see it gets waxy all the time. I clean it all the time, but it always gets more wax. I have a container that I use to measure my fragrance oils. I clean it between uses. And then I have my really large 10-quart Presto pot, and my wax is already melted because I turned it on. I always turn it on before I get started prepping candles. And then my Clorox wipes are always handy because I'm always cleaning something. So I'm gonna get started measuring out my fragrances and my amount of wax needed for each one. Let's do it. So this wax is about 187, which is a little high. I want to add the fragrance around, I don't know, 185-ish. So I'm just turning it down a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and measure out my first fragrance oil for my Chesapeake Bay candle. Chopsticks are also a really handy thing to always have on hand if you're making candles. So I'm gonna tear out my scale. I usually stand up when I do this, but couldn't get a good camera angle. And there we go. So, as you've seen in my other videos, spilling fragrance oil or essential oil is always terrible. It's one of the most expensive ingredients. So I just put that to the back where it's out of the way. And now I can weigh out my wax. So I'm gonna do 22 ounces of wax here. Always tearing out your scale. I am gonna have to stand up for this one. I have this huge 16-ounce ladle that I got from Amazon, and it allows me to get a lot more wax in there at one time. One day I'd love to upgrade to like one of those wax melters that has a spout. That would be amazing. So our wax is at about 186 now, so that is a really good temperature to go ahead and add the fragrance. And I add it in here, and I'm just going to stir for about 2 minutes. The stirring for a period of time really helps for the molecules of the fragrance to absorb with the, bind with the molecules of the wax. Get every last bit of that beautiful fragrance. So this one is Chesapeake Bay, and it has like notes of sea salt and ozone and musk and citrus, and it really, I love it. It kind of smells like a good men's cologne. But it's definitely also earthy and outdoorsy, so I really like it. It was kind of the perfect when you think about the Chesapeake Bay or any kind of coastal seaside location. And I always just tamp my fragrance a little bit more to get every drop of that good stuff. So we're putting the fragrance in at a very specific temperature, and then we're gonna let it sit, and we're also gonna pour at a very specific temperature. With this wax, I like to pour around 135 degrees, and it's at about 172 degrees right now. So that's the point at which I line it up with the candles that are gonna take this wax, and I let it sit while I work on getting the next pitcher prepared. And that's how I do it. So I'm gonna keep going with this, guys. Same process over and over again. Awesome, it's at 1:30, it's finally time to pour our first fragrance. And one thing I wanted to note is it's really important to pour your fragrance at the recommended temperature. And this will be indicated when you purchase your wax from your supplier. It'll tell you the pour temperature. And it's important because when you pour at the wrong temperature, it can cause some of the common things that we see, some of the common problems of candle making, which is like tunneling by the wick or like bumpy tops. So by pouring at the right temperature, you can cut down on a lot of that and save yourself some time. So I'm gonna get these poured. There we go, all the candles are poured. They will sit like this until tomorrow, probably about 24 hours, so that they are well set and hardened before we trim the wick, give them a label, and put the lid on. Let's return now to wrapping some soap. And as you can see, we have quite a lot of soap to wrap. This is 10, 20, 30, 40, 60 bars. Great, so now to wrap these soaps. Get gloved up here. Okay, so I've already made these sleeves, which you just saw previously, and these can fit 3 bars. I'm actually pretty fast at this usually, but I just crumpled that up for no good reason. So once I fit a bar in here, seal it off. There we go. We're gonna do this over and over a lot of times. There's no quick way around this. We'll do this at least 60 times. I recommend your favorite audio book or watching some YouTubies. Oh, I forgot to mention, so this soap has all cured for at least 3 to 4 weeks, each of these bars, and during that process, just more of the water evaporates and they become harder. So soap is actually safe to use within 24 hours of the saponification process completing, but because of the water content involved in making it, it'll just be a softer bar until it's had longer to cure. It doesn't really, affect like the bar. It's still soap and it's still great, but it will last a little longer if you have cured it. Another interesting thing to mention is that I have gone through several iterations of my soap packaging. This would be the third iteration with the biodegradable shrink wrap. I used to have kind of like a cigar band around them, a paper cigar band, and I really liked that, but I did feel like it covered up the beauty of the design. Then when COVID happened, you know, I didn't want people picking up and handling the bars, which everyone does. So I thought that this would be a little bit more hygienic, along with letting you see, you know, the beauty of each bar. And we're gonna shrink wrap these next, by the way, using a heat gun. So all of this shrink wrap will be tightened around it. Anyway, and I'm very happy with this now. I think I will stay with this for quite a long time. It's really beautiful to look at. It's wonderful on a retail shelf or at a festival environment. And it just helps keep the bar in good condition as well. I noticed that when I just had them wrapped with the paper cigar band, a lot would happen to these bars in transit. You know, you're loading them up, taking them to different farmers markets and festivals. And when I ship to customers, they just arrive in much more pristine condition this way. So yeah, pretty happy with this. And it's just so wonderful. This is called a polyolefin. So it will biodegrade within, I think they said 18 months, which is pretty good if you compare the biodegradation rates of like other materials. So I was really happy about that because it's just, I really try to avoid plastic. I try to reuse packaging materials. So yeah, this was a big win for me this year. It's something I wanted for my soap packaging for quite a long time. So next we're moving on to the lemongrass poppy. This is the brightest, zestiest one I have. This bottom layer is turmeric. The pencil line is made with activated charcoal, and the top has poppy seeds in it. And the yellow color just comes from the lemongrass essential oil. It is yellow enough that it colors the entire loaf. This is another part of the process that would be much faster if I had a better industrial shrink wrap system. But you know, that is a very expensive set of equipment. So for now, I'm doing it this way, which works just fine. And you will see the finished product is just gorgeous. And voila. Now to get to heat shrink wrapping them. So my heat gun is pretty heavy duty. It's like industrial strength. We already had it for some home projects. So I just put it on the lowest setting and get these guys done. Sorry, this isn't the best video, guys. My tripod died. It's an electric tripod. And there we have it. Only 58 more bars to go. Okay guys, I have got soap stacked literally everywhere. I've finished shrink wrapping all of these, and next up is labeling. And I organize all of my labels in just an accordion file. I have a folder for soaps, candles, balms, and teas, and I also keep all of my like blank labels in here too. I this year upgraded to using online labels, and it's awesome, and it's really helped me to have a much more beautiful label. So let me find my soap labels and we'll get to this. What I love about my, whoops. What I love about my soap labels is I use a clear label with the clear packaging. So it just lets the design come through even more, and it's just so clean and pretty. So I'm just picking out all of my names that I need, and we're gonna get to this. You might notice that some of my soaps do have the old, some of the labels have the old logo, and then some of them have the new logo, and that's just how it goes when you're a small business owner. I have updated my logo to be cleaner and more simple, but I need to use what I have already invested in. So just a little bit difference there. I'll do the side by side. So you can see this one is the old logo that has a square around, and this is the new logo that's a lot more crisp. So just a tiny difference most people might not notice. And then here's the eucalyptus mint, and it has an old logo and label as well. I just love the green and blue swirls in this. This is a new aesthetic. Guys, thank you so much for joining me in my studio today. If this video was helpful to you in any way, please like and subscribe. I'll have more videos like this showing behind the scenes of how things are made and just explaining the hurdles and obstacles and triumphs that I come through my small business. So hope to see you around on the next video. Have an awesome day.